So my experience with college students is they rarely make big mistakes. But they make a lot of little ones because they're not organized.
Yeah.
And because they have so many little tasks building up, it creates cognitive load. It impacts focus. And so when they want to really sit down to do something, it's harder to do it well. And he uses the analogy of a basket. Empty your baskets. And so even if it's a tiny little thing entering the basket, it's still adding weight. And eventually it will overflow. So for example, for me, in general, I usually respond to emails extremely quickly, sometimes within seconds. And it's not because I'm especially conscientious. It's because email come in, I respond, it's now gone. It's gone. It's out.
Yeah.
It's out. And these
You don't have to
little
worry about that.
out of the basket. And what that does is when you declutter like that consistently, when you do need to sit down for a major, let's say it's for a student, a major studying hard for a test or working on a difficult paper, now all the clutter is out. And you can put full attention, and the inability to have extreme focus for long periods of time is something that I have noticed trip up a lot of students.
Yeah.
It's because they're not able to focus only on the task in front of them. They have 20 other little, I need to respond to so-and-so, and I have to clean my room, and I have to, if it takes 2 or 5 minutes or less, do it now.
Yeah. And also I've seen the real value of that, just getting deeply into an activity without any distractions at all. And of course, maybe a good rule is to not have the 2-minute rule in your allocated time for deep work. Like if you're gonna do something, and if you're gonna study for a paper, at least for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, you're gonna do a project, you're gonna whatever, just do that. Put your phone like miles away.
Yes.
Put your distractions miles away and focus deeply on that, because of course social media and all of this really affects your brain, that you have to be constantly ingesting dopamine from any sort of activity. So that deep work is becoming less and less frequent in people. Do you have any advice on how to engage with deep work more frequently?
Yeah, so you're referring to a time management technique that is often referred to as tying yourself to the mast. It's a reference to the Odyssey and Odysseus, who they're sailing through, and the sirens are screeching, and the sirens, they bewitch, the men to their deaths, and he knows that he can't possibly resist their cry, so he has his crew literally tie him to the mast of his ship, so that he's not relying on his own self-discipline. It's out of his hands. And it is an incredibly effective technique. There are little things you can buy. These are brilliant, where they're little timed locks. Put your phone in the little box. You set like an hour timer. It will. There's nothing you can do to get your phone for an hour. Funny. It is in there. And there's a lot of little ways that you can, quote unquote, tie yourself to the mast. One of the ways that you can do this is just picking good locations to work.
Yeah. Getting
yourself out of your space, whether it's, going, it could be going to a library. It could be, I'll give you an example from my life. I have an office here on campus, and I work at home a lot too. But I tend to, particularly on the weekends, I do much better work. If I have to work on a weekend, I do much better work in my office because there's fewer distractions. And what else am I going to do here but work? So sometimes, let's say it's a Friday, I might do this today. I'm getting ready to go home, and there's a couple of books that I know I'm going to need to do work over the weekend. I will intentionally leave them here rather than bring them with me, because then tomorrow when I wake up and I have to work, I'm going to go, I have to go to my office. And so the point is, a lot of people think that what they need to do is have better self-control. Nonsense. Our self-control loses every time. We have to sort of set scenarios to where we're not relying on our self-control. We just kind of back ourselves into a corner and we have to work.
Yeah. That's a very funny way to put it. I really like it.